Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sentrama Masterclass. In attendance today's Masterclass, we have sales and marketing leaders across the UK and the US as we explore this session, Mastering Customer Success. Shortly, I will introduce our speakers for today's session, who will be running us through Sentrama's marketing leading approach to revolutionise your B2B strategy for unmatched growth. Towards the end of the session, there'll be an opportunity to ask, so please use the chat function throughout the Masterclass session to do so. Our hope is that you, as leaders, will walk away with some actionable insights, be in a better position to benchmark current practices and further understanding on how to best act in this current market. Today's speakers are Robbie McGregor and Brian Matthews. Robbie is a seasoned B2B sales and marketing expert with over 15 years of experience selling into the world's largest companies. As managing director and co-founder of Sentrama, his legendary team specializes in human-driven lead generation strategies and empower sales teams to engage and convert ideal customers through innovative, personalized outreach. Brian has over 6 years experience in direct-to-consumer CX within the retail sector, including leading multiple teams in consumer business strategies and broader business operations. Following this, he gained an additional 2 years of experience in client management, B2B sales, and customer journey optimization. Brian is now one of Sentrama's leading campaign managers. For those who have joined, this is ultimately what we'll look at during today's session. How do you keep up with rising complex customer demands? How do you stay agile or competitive? How do you enrich or enhance your customer experience in B2B? How do you increase personalization? And last but not least, what does end-to-end success look like? So without further ado, I'd like to pass over to you, Robbie.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to see everybody here today. And Brian, good to see you smiling.
You too as well.
Okay, I think let's go straight into transparency, Alex. I think it's absolutely critical with any customer success. It all revolves around expectation management predominantly, and also being transparent in terms of what you're doing. So ultimately, particularly in our space, so a service space or a technology space as well, you need to be really clear in terms of what you're going to be delivering with the client, and also come through basically what they are expecting from the relationship, understand that, and then be able to put yourself in a position where you're operating as if you're part of their team. Really, that's why people come to you for the product. When it's a service industry, they're looking for you to be part of their team and solve a solution that they might not have been able to solve themselves internally. The other piece as well in transparency is having some form of way to be transparent. That could be as simple as regular meetings, customer service meetings put in the diary, which is something our team are quite passionate about here. Or you could take the extra step as well and have some form of digital transparency, perhaps, where your clients can log into a platform, they can log into maybe a dashboard, or even if it's a simple report you might send out weekly on what's happening, services they're buying from you. That's really, really key. So the thing you got to think about this is whether you're a transactional business, i.e. whether you're just serving out one product, and then that's it. You've got to think about the client journey and do they trust you? Are you transparent in terms of what you're doing? And are you then basically fulfilling on that? But if it's more of a partnership model, i.e. you're delivering a service or you're delivering them repeated product, you need to make sure that you have that regular touch point with ideally a human within your business, via some form of digital method of them being able to see that, yes, that human's lovely, yes, you like them, but here are all the numbers and all of the facts that back up what you're delivering. So for us, that's really, really key. Is you understand the expectation, you set the expectation right at the beginning, and then you follow that journey through with regular meetings and a transparency tool, if you're able to deliver it. So that's key for us. That's how we've shaped Sentrama, and it's really key to the retention piece with clients, because you build that relationship. The better you build the relationship, the more likely they are to entrust you with, and trust is the key thing. There is entrust you with more services or more product that they might want to take from you. So that's really, really key. Transparency through expectation management, communication regularly, and then a platform of some sort, or some digital communication is really, really key. So all of that's lovely, but you do need to think and work like a partnership. Okay, so what do I mean by that is, are you acting as if you've been employed by them? So a lot of businesses make this mistake that it's a very transactional. Okay, you send them an invoice, they pay it, you deliver something back. But really, how things flourish is you need to really put yourself in the customer's shoes, understand their problems, how you can solve them. Maybe go the extra mile every now and again. I see our campaign managers congratulating people on their birthdays, or I think I heard GCSE results the other day for one of their kids, etc. So there's all these things that show that you are a partnership, and that's really key. With anything in business, is it's B2B, fine, but you are person to person and business to business, so you need to be gelling together in a really slick partnership. There's loads of things you can do about that, but my number one message right now is communication against expectations, and then have some form of evidence-based platform or reporting against it. And then, yeah, person to person, lovely thing to say. It does sound a bit like a marketing spin, and we'll be frank, it is part of our strap line. But ultimately, I remember somebody saying to me early in my career, is that people buy from people fundamentally. Okay. Yes, okay. There are various software solutions out there that you might purchase for, $100 here and there, where it's very transactional. You just log into the experience, but you still need to be able to have that access to a real person in customer success. So you may notice that could come in the form of a widget, for example, that you prompt maybe some AI, and then eventually you get through to a real person. Okay, you still end up as person to person, fine. But where things really excel is when somebody feels like they've got somebody there that they can talk to that understands their business, is coming from a partnership mentality, and obviously understands what the expectation is as well. So the key thing here is people like to buy from people. They want to feel like they can trust what's going on. So trust, transparency, and treating it as if it's a person to person relationship. So that's my view on transparency from here. There's lots behind that, obviously. I'm just conscious of time. But I'm going to hand over to Brian now, who's going to add a bit more depth to this.
Perfect. Thank you, Robbie. So ultimately, within the transparency piece, we then have a framework which alludes to that and allows us to create different experiences, which ultimately, sort of leading on from where Robbie handed over, end to end is a huge part to play in the customer experience satisfaction piece. You have to start with great customer experience, and then you have to end with a great customer experience. And ultimately, what that should then lead into is continued partnership, being able to create those relationships at a much deeper level, and then continue to build confidence for your clients. Now, on the back end of that, something that we have in our technology portfolio that allows us to do that is our HubSpot and dashboard integration. As a trusted HubSpot partner, we do the legwork with tracking your deal progression and the sales pipeline, and I can delve a little bit more into that as we go through the process later on. And then that ultimately gets handed over to us as your dedicated campaign managers. So here at Sentrama, as a campaign manager, my role is to ensure that I am that extension to your organization, internally being your central hub of knowledge, and I guess creating a halo effect around your company during that partnership so that we upsell your business and show the true value and potential that you've got. I always say to my clients that I'm definitely at their disposal to support, help build pipeline and market their business effectively. Within that, ultimately, we then do have a range of different pieces. And Alex, if you want to move on to the next slide. So where does that journey start for us? It all starts with the onboarding process, which is the handover from our sales team over to us as campaign managers. Now, as Robbie mentioned previously, customer success is a huge part to play, not only for sales and marketing leaders, but the whole end-to-end experience and value add for your business. I would say from my experience, not only in direct to consumer, but working previously in business to business corporate events on a global scale, CX is what not only brings in your opportunities from get-go of building those relationships, but it converts them into hot opportunities and then keeps them loyal to your brand. We know that the B2B space is extremely complex. In most cases, you're probably dealing with a business to business to consumer company. And in a lot of those cases, you have to always put your thought process in not only your client's mind, but also in their customer's mind as well. That's something that you have to really consider about. So what would we say has worked for us in setting up our clients for success? It all starts with this onboarding process. So this is what gives us the opportunity to implement that crucial word of transparency in terms of what we can expect from them and equally what they can expect from us. Our onboarding process not only gives them an introduction to the campaign manager that they'll be working with, but how we deepen that understanding of their organization and then turn that into outbound gold dust. The onboarding process for us is a really interesting brainstorming session where we can not only gain insight from our clients' businesses, their focuses, and their needs, but also then share our expertise to set them up for success, not only to drive growth for their business, but to market it in the right way. Collaboration is a word that I fundamentally stand by from my days working back in retail all the way through to now, and it's so important. That is such a key to being able to enrich your customer experience. I guess the way that I like to think of it is if you were merging two completely separate teams with their expertise into one common outcome, which is building sales pipeline for each individual client. Within our process, we've definitely found that personalization is extremely key. I would say that given experience following on from the pandemic, we saw a pivotal step change within the market. People are craving that human interaction, which is everything that we stand for as a core value here at Sentrama. And sort of following on from what Robbie said, people buy from people. You know, everything sort of working within corporate events was showing that human interaction was something that everyone was craving. They wanted to go back to being able to meet people face to face, to have the opportunity to hear somebody down the phone, which is why I would say that warm outbound calling is definitely not a thing of the past. It's definitely 2024 moving forward and sort of carrying on that sort of energy as we go forward. On the flip side to that, you've definitely got to have personable outreach and a relatable message that speaks to every individual that is going to invoke a response, which is why we use personalized imagery within our messaging as we go through the process. Now, what that allows us to do is it speaks volumes to our clients' brands, but also adds a little bit of sort of more human interaction and relatable content to it. That's how I would say you stay agile in the market and remain competitive just from speaking to clients day in, day out. You have to truly be able to break through the noise and develop a brand that delivers. And that's something that we aim to do as every CM here at Sentrama focuses on. I know that Robbie mentioned a little bit earlier around our technology stack, and you can see on the screen here around the perfect data and what that looks like. So I'm sure you're intrigued to understand how do we build the perfect data. I want to introduce you into our process here at Sentrama and what that looks like. Now, our process and how we set you up for success following your onboarding call ultimately comes down to a few fundamentals. Firstly, we need to have a clear understanding around the data that we're going to be using. So for a client of ours, that breaks down into which industry are you succeeding in and want to continue to drive market share within. It could even be on the other flip side to that, what do you have potential that you want to unlock in and how can we help you go to market with that? But within those industries, we have to have a good understanding of each organization and company that you want us to target. Are there any potential lookalikes that you've got wins with? Are there any that are existing customers that you want us to leave for you to deal with in your own internal way? Among that, there are obviously then people within those organizations that we would describe as your ideal customer profile or your ICP. And really being able to unlock those valuable people that are going to be not only potentially aware of your solution, but the problems that they're facing to get there is how we source that data. On the back end of that, we then create a personalized copy or sequence that's going to break through the algorithm and disrupt within the market. So we have to have that deep dive into your organization and then match that with our experience to then position your organization with a halo effect to give people an understanding and a value add around what you can bring to the market that separates you from any competitor. Once we've then done that, we then leverage that across three main channels. Firstly, through LinkedIn, we find that especially over the last couple of years, LinkedIn has definitely been a hub and source of truth for different executives and prospects across the B2B landscape and where a lot of shared ideas are. And being able to break through that algorithm and drop into somebody's message where we are able to give that value add and their thought process into where we can help organizations with their struggles is definitely a key win. On the sort of joint path with that, we then have emails. So being able to leverage the information that we've provided to create that copy and then putting in that into a personalized email so that no stone is unturned with your prospects is key as a part of an aspect to our process. And then like I alluded to earlier, you have to have the warm calling that's been a valuable key proposition for us in B2B outbound. People want to speak to other people and humans, have that interaction, and one way to do that is definitely over the phone. This means that your prospect will go through without a single opportunity missed, and we'll outreach them in a way that we're able to get them to a secure appointment and get as much detail from them to set you up for success. How do we then provide that transparency and collaboration or communication back to you at all given times end to end during our experience? Well, very simply, over two main things. Firstly, our platform, which is in the shape of a dashboard. What that shows you transparency wise in your day to day outside of your regular catch ups with us as CMs is it gives you some insight to daily activity, performance, feedback metrics that you can share with us to keep us up to date with how we're tracking along across your campaign and how your meetings are going. And then a range of reports which gives you insight to your ideal customer profile. Leading into that, as a HubSpot partner here at Sentrama, we have a specific Sentrama HubSpot that we'll create for you that you have access to, which gives you access to the data that we're using for your campaigns, any marketing qualified leads that come through your digital channels, any sales qualified leads that our team have spoken to and given insight to your organization, and then most importantly, those appointments that we book in as sales qualified appointments. That's where you can then gain all of the information around your sales funnel and your sales pipeline. So that's a little bit of insight to our process. Anything you want to add in there, Robbie?
No, I think it's very comprehensive there, Brian. I think the key thing with this process, and the reason we're talking about this from a customer success point of view, is to be able to deliver like something like this. Communication and understanding your customer in a partnership way is absolutely critical. And the reason it's critical is with outbound, in particular in this use case, is we need to be a part of your team essentially, and then we need to be able to understand what you're trying to achieve, which all comes from communication and a partnership approach, and then ultimately apply our expertise amongst our team members. So for full transparency, we have a data team that would report into the campaign managers in this instance, so Brian and his team. And in this example, you have the copywriters and creative, and then you have senior SDRs doing the warm calling. Now, for all of that to be successful, it has to be very organized our side, and we have to look for what we call sales intelligence as well, because as we all know, going outbound, you can't just spray and pray anymore. It used to be a thing a couple of years ago, but now you have to be hyper personalized, and you have to look after a lot of technological elements as well to make sure that you're delivering, you're responding, and that you're getting everything put through. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, and you've made it sound very simple, Brian, which is great. But the key thing is to be able to execute on what's inherently a quite complex way of getting to an appointment. Is we have to deliver excellent customer experience at the front end, at the onboarding stage, to be able to deliver through this, and then maintain that transparency piece and that communication to be able to keep driving for results in a professional way, obviously, and particularly when it comes to qualification of appointments for us. There's a huge feedback loop that happens on our platform via the dashboards, and the campaign managers is making sure meetings have been attended, they've progressed, and what we've learned along the way, which there's a huge thing around there in terms of setup and quality of what we're doing, which is for another session, another masterclass. But all of that stems from excellent customer service, excellent customer experience, because if you're not delivering that, you can't get the information and drive things forward. So that would be my 10 pennant there, my little raspberry to add.
No, that's perfect. I guess for everybody here, the question then leads on from this process of what does this lead to? Now, for us, that leads to extremely happy customers, as you can see from some of the testimonials that are on the screen. But I guess what does that lead to for our customers? It leads to a range of streamlined communications in the partnership. It leads to access to return on investment for their own organization and then shared success within their market. Now, outside of the testimonials that you can see, I work with two leading digital transformation consultancies within my portfolio, one of which we've now just had success with within their first set of campaigns, where we've now set up for success across two more on more of a go-to-market basis, because we exceeded their expectations through communication and collaboration and saw some successful results across their first two. And then on the back end of that, we've had another client who has just provided a testimonial for us, which is available on our website, which sort of reiterates the success around the communication piece and how that's reduced the length in our weekly meetings, because the transparency that they have every single day throughout these campaigns and through the communication with myself has given them everything that they need to know. So I guess ultimately how I would class from the journey that we've had here at Sentrama and from some of my clients and speaking to them day to day, there are four things that allude to sort of our core values, my experience, and their feedback as success within the B2B landscape. And that I would say comes from the importance of personalizing your approach to each client that's important. It is a huge valuable piece that we've seen huge success with. Number two comes down to that white glove service, which comes through that transparency piece that we sort of hold at the heart of our values and collaboration in the partnership. Thirdly, being proactive around your campaigns rather than reactive. I know that our team are constantly looking at ways to re-engage, move forward, or introduce new ways of working and passing that through our clients for approval and getting it signed off. And then I'd say number four, and is working with the team around me, and just from experience overall, is you've got to have a team who are passionate to be customer driven. It's such a fundamental to have a team who want the absolute best for each client. And sort of like you alluded to earlier, Robbie, it's about deepening those relationships, sort of further than just communication each week around your sort of campaigns and how they're running. It's also about trying to get to understand them as a human being and building those relationships in that way. But I'll pass back to you for some key insight.
Hey, thank you. So, I think that's, I mean, we could talk for hours about customer success and what it takes. It's inherently quite technical, and obviously there's a lot of human factors to it. But we'll keep coming back down to transparency, communication, and expectation, and then managing your experience against all of that. Obviously, there are some experts that actually we know quite closely in terms of customer service who will give you the full philosophy and paradigms, etc., to it all. But just from this little session that we've had here, there are four main takeaways, really. I think you have to learn about your customer and really understand the customer, drill down to what it means for them. Okay, so you're an extension of their organization, and that's the way to look at it. Even if you're selling a product or if you're selling a service, it's still the same thing. They've come to you to solve a problem. Therefore, there is inherently an element of vulnerability there, and that you're going to solve that for them. So you need to really understand what's wanted, basically. The second piece is always be client first in terms of the business. It's quite easy for businesses to lose sight of that, and to think that they're bigger than their clients. The easiest way that we like to frame it internally is that we're there to give to our clients rather than take things from our clients, and that's the way that you should really look at it. How can you add value to that experience? How can you go a little bit above and beyond with what you're delivering? Then put the clients there, basically not just at the forefront of the business, but also kind of in the center of it all as well. So everybody, even so in our world, we have customer success people, i.e. our campaign managers, which is fantastic, and their role is to make sure that we're delivering results. However, you've got to make sure the rest of the team that maybe aren't customer facing understand what the client wants and what they want and what they need. So, yep, you put your clients at the forefront of the business, but also put them within the business. Make sure everybody within the business understands what the clients are striving to do. And then the final piece would be make sure you've got the technology to support your customers with visibility. Okay, that's a technical way of being transparent with what you're doing, and also giving them autonomy on accessing the information, and basically getting that interaction between human but also integrity with actual numbers and hard stats that are going on. Okay, and there's lots of ways you can automate that. You can have a platform like ours. You could have a weekly report go out, and there's lots of things you can do. And even if you're in the early stages of your business, and digitizing things, there are very quick wins you can do to make that happen. So ultimately, you have to be flexible to the client's requirements. You've got to listen to the clients. You've got to take that feedback, learn from mistakes, learn from positive criticism that you get as well. But the full thing is you've got to go end to end with it. Make sure you're catering for all the diverse needs. As Brian said earlier, treat each client on an individual basis and really get to know them, and then build that relationship, and past the point of sale. I always see the companies are very good at kind of building a relationship through a sales process. Well, they should be. But the key thing actually is to keep that relationship going. And actually, for us, I think the onboarding stages of our business is the most critical stage, because that's when clients actually get to start feeling the business, get to feel the products, get to feel the culture that they're dealing with, and hopefully get to feel like we're being transparent partner, and ready to deliver results. So that would be my key takeaways there, Brian. Thank you for your energy so far.
Great. Well, thank you both for your fantastic insights on this session. We would also like just to take the time to open up some questions to the floor. If you'd like to ask anything, just feel free to pop it into the chat box now.
This is where we'll get a rogue question coming in.
No rogue questions at the moment, but we've actually have one just popped up. So the first question would be, what do you expect clients to provide to you in regards to understanding their customers?
Good question. Do you want to take that one first, Brian, and I'll add on to that?
Yeah, so ultimately, I always like to say as much information as you can provide to us that like us as a CM team can digest. So we use the onboarding process to be able to gain as much information as possible around the perfect data for the ideal customer profile. But then equally, outside of that, it's always good to have an understanding around any unique selling points, if there's any case studies that you can provide to us where we can really sort of add the value in when it comes to doing outbound prospecting. Any particular sales collateral that we're able to not find online that you're happy for our team internally to know and digest to get a good understanding of your product and the offering. And then outside of that, I guess just anything that you would be able to provide to us as a unique selling point against potential competitors within that market, or anything that you find is a real driving success in that space.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely key. I think the other thing is, in any instance, there's a lot of public information around that, for example, we could research about our clients and get prepared for. And it would be the same if you've got a product that you're selling to your clients, obviously. I think when you get the first interaction, kind of face to face, when you're delivering a product or taking an order for something, is then that's fantastic. We've managed to align ourselves from a need and a need fill, so to speak, as a client and a supplier relationship. But from the first interaction there onwards, it's making sure that you can dive a little bit deeper. Okay, can we understand things that we wouldn't be able to find publicly? Okay, now you've asked us to deliver this project, and are things that you already know that might be a challenge for this, or things that might be a quick win for this, and actually then allowing the partnership to work both ways, because the more that you know about your client, better you can deliver for your client. And sometimes people don't know, and that's okay. But as long as we know we don't know, we can put measures in place to go and find out the answers, so to speak. So I'm being a little bit woolly there because I'm trying to keep it top level, but that's what I would say is if it's public knowledge, fantastic. But if there's things that aren't public knowledge, you need to be able to share that with either your suppliers or your customers, so you can really bring that partnership closer together. And again, that comes around transparency and trust as well.
Amazing. Two great answers there. Thank you both. I'm just conscious of everyone's time. I know that, Brian, you have an opportunity for the audience that you would like to introduce.
I would. So thank you, everybody, for your time today as part of our session in the Q&A. Off the back of this, I know that our team will be in touch to everybody who's joined our session today to thank them for their time and hopefully get you booked in to explore your opportunity to partner with us here at Sentrama. What we'd like to offer to those in attendance today is one free appointment with a prospect within your ideal customer profile as a little opportunity to show you the full capability of what we can offer here and help maximize the opportunity to help grow your organization.
Wow. Can I get one of those, please, Brian?
Most certainly, of course.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your time today, and obviously Brian and Robbie, some great insights into and key takeaways from this session. But yeah, we're all really looking forward to working with you all in the future. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.